What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Blade, and we're back with some more reactions. Today, we got Horrors of the Internet Archive. And if you don't want to be a horror of the Internet Archive, subscribe for more reactions and make sure to like. Without further ado, let's see what the Internet archived that was truly messed up.
In November 2011, a brand new account on YouTube would upload his first video. It would very quickly garner a large amount of views, amassing 142,000 in his first month on the platform. It was unusual for a video from a new account with no following to get so many views so quickly back in this era of YouTube. But in this case, you can chalk it up to the bizarre and extraordinary nature of this clip. Its title being, "You have 30 days to pay me $5 million. The video starts with a first-person view of somebody messing with some crude electronics on a remote control car, eventually showing the audience that they attached a camera onto it. The cameraman is now on a plane.
It's RCXD from Black Ops 1. Oh my goodness, he made a RCXD.
We get a montage of his flight until we see that he appears to be landing in some sandy desert country. Once he gets into his room, he unpacks all his equipment, which we don't yet know just what he's planning to do with. He leaves the room and we can see, judging on the cityscape, that he appears to be somewhere in the Middle East. He takes a motorbike and he starts driving through the palm tree laden streets.
This guy got the Nokia. Bro, how old is this video, bro? Like 2008? And Nokia was still making phones? I'm lying. I don't even remember. I swear it's been... I swear they not recently. I don't know what their last phone was. But I swear it was in like the 20... Like 20... Before 2020? Maybe like 2015? I don't know.
We get another driving montage. This time though, our cameraman seems to go quite a bit of ways out of town, until the video fades to black before showing us just where he was traveling to all this time. The cameraman is in Egypt, right by the Great Pyramids. Somebody directs him to an opening in one of the walls. He messes with his bag, and we get a brief glimpse of the RC car snaking through the narrow tunnels of some presumably ancient underground structure, before the video once again fades to black for a final time. Before ending though, we're shown a URL, nowiknow.com. Visiting this page greets you with a countdown, telling the reader that unless the site's owner is paid $5 million by the time the counter hits 0, he will release the full video, apparently implying that the camera on that RC car filmed something remarkable in some forgotten passage in one of the pyramids. Interestingly enough, this website was localized into several different languages, and there were social media accounts linked here for just about...
Yo, who remembers when the Twitter logo was that? That's elite ball knowledge. That might be Unk status though. Low key, that might be Unk status. That's when Twitter like first came out. That's how it looked like. What a time, bro. What a time back then. You know, back then when Twitter was good. I would keep it real, bro. Back then when Twitter was good, you know, people just said the most random things, funny things. There wasn't rage baiting. There wasn't quote tweeting. There was no engagement farming just to make money. It was simpler times.
Every major platform at the time. Under both of these rows lays an email address, nameless@nowiknow.com. Judging by the general time period this was all put on the internet, the person behind this video and site might be implying
Was it really 2011 when this was uploaded?
that they discovered some earth-shattering revelation inside the pyramids. The late 2000s and early 2010s was when the show Ancient Aliens held a small slice of the pop culture zeitgeist, and the idea that ancient societies held extraordinary secrets hidden away by today's elites was a common thought in some people's minds. It's understandable why this spread so quickly. This sort of ancient alien conspiracy niche on YouTube was popular at the time, and it's not every day somebody uploads a first-person point-of-view travel vlog showing exactly how they brought a camera-rigged remote control car to the Great Pyramids in Egypt. Even if this was some sort of ARG, it was still a high-effort production. Users on Reddit initially assumed that because of the slick nature of this whole thing that maybe it could be some sort of marketing campaign for a movie or TV show. But one Redditor noted that the domain information for the Now I Know website didn't line up with other such guerrilla marketing stunts. Nothing related to the domain led back to any sort of movie studio or any corporation at all. This was in all likelihood something produced by an individual. Maybe there really was something to this. Let's analyze this video. Judging the surroundings we see when the cameraman is traveling to the airport, he appears to be from some Eastern European country. And indeed, doing an image back search on a frame that shows the airport he flew out of reveals that he was departing from Kaliningrad in Russia. We can tell from one of the scenes on the plane that the person filming is indeed a man. We can also do an image back search to reveal that this guy was not actually landing in Cairo, but instead in the resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh, which is about a 500-kilometer drive away from Cairo and the pyramids. This is going to be important in a second. Whenever our cameraman is outside in Egypt, he always appears to be in Sharm el-Sheikh. Nowhere in Cairo near the pyramids is quite as laid back as this, and every image back search I did on screen caps of the streets he's on always led back to Sharm el-Sheikh. He eventually gets on a motorcycle, drives out of town, and just sort of appears at the Giza pyramids. I don't buy for 1 second that this guy went on a 6-hour motorbike trip along the Suez Canal into Cairo. I did notice that outside Sharm el-Sheikh there was this weird artificial pyramid complex, but I don't think this is where our guy went. He did genuinely film himself at the Cairo pyramids, but what he doesn't show us is his RC car. He implies that he pulls it out of his backpack and drives it through some tunnel, but we never actually see it come out of his bag. The only time we see it in Egypt is when he uses it in his hotel room, which, judging by the wristband he's wearing and the logo on the balcony door, appears to be the Marmara Sabina Resort. By the way, notice how he takes the mirror off the wall before filming the RC car on the desk in the room. This guy went to great lengths to hide his identity. While people are speculating what the point of this video was, an important thing seemed to be absent from the conversation. Just who is this guy expecting to pay him $5 million? The way this is presented resembles a ransom situation, but what exactly is being held ransom? Is the Egyptian government gonna pay this guy to keep him quiet? We didn't have to wait long to answer that question. The timer in the website would eventually run out, and nobody paid our man, so he released a full video like he threatened to, which was via a download on his website that was quickly mirrored to LiveLeak. As the video starts to glitch, the car eventually gets to a sharp incline. It hovers at the edge for a second, then starts to go down it, with the video wavering more and more the further it gets, eventually cutting out completely. We get a screen of text before the video closes out, telling us that OP failed to get more info on this, but something is going on down there, and he's not going to tell you the location of the tunnel either. This wasn't some elaborate ransom situation, high-effort scam, or guerrilla marketing campaign. It was most likely a hoax made for attention. Maybe it's a fun project some Russian guy did while on vacation at an Egyptian resort. In fact, there are bus excursions to the pyramids from Sharm el-Sheikh, which is where the bus footage we see probably comes from. This video would garner almost 500,000 views before it was mysteriously taken offline sometime in the mid-2010s.
That was the biggest nothing burger I ever seen, bro. I did all that just to show nothing. And then hype it up again. And be like, yo, I messed up. But I know there's more down there. But I'm not gonna show you.
Along with the website and all associated social media accounts. It was almost as if this guy just wanted to disappear from the internet. This might have been the end of the story, but luckily, it wasn't. You see, it might have seemed like I was showing you screenshots of YouTube, Twitter, and this guy's website, but that's not entirely true. What I was actually showing you were archives of those pages. Mirrored copies downloaded and preserved forever by a foundation known as the Internet Archive. Other than those two Reddit posts, the only website I sourced information and material from for this video so far has exclusively been the Internet Archive. Their mission is to preserve as much of the internet in its current and past states as possible, an almost infinite library of what was and what is. They're a necessity for mine and countless other YouTubers' jobs, and an overall net good for the preservation of human culture.
Facts. Your Internet Archive is the goal. Forgetting. I can't even say it. It has a lot of resources, that's all I'm gonna say. Maybe you want to play a game from back then. This guy's your friend. Maybe you want some music. This guy's your friend. Remember that.
But have you ever stopped to think just what curiosities may lie in the darkest depths of this library? What's been stowed away, buried under mountains of archived Google searches and blog posts, tucked away from prying eyes until someone finally decides to summon it into their web browser. Today, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna dive into this monolith world of archived content and twist it around until we see its dark side. Now I know it may have been a hoax, but the majority of what's to come in this video are real horrors that would have been lost if it wasn't for the Internet Archive. As the World Wide Web was spreading around the globe in the mid-90s, internet enthusiasts were already busy planning how to best catalog it. In 1996, Brewster Kahle, an American tech entrepreneur, founded Alexa Internet, a for-profit web crawling service that would gather information on different websites and provide information on the overall state of the internet, like global site rankings based on visitors and data use. You can think of Alexa Internet as a sort of digital version of Nielsen ratings, which would gather viewing data for different TV channels and programs. In the same year he founded Alexa Internet, Kahle would use the same web crawling technology to put together a non-profit web cataloging service, which he would simply call the Internet Archive. The idea was simple. Instead of just gathering data on web pages, the Internet Archive would instead copy the pages themselves and save them on its own servers. If an important web page ever went down for some reason, it could still be accessed just as it was through the Internet Archive. In the first 5 years of its existence, the Internet Archive would solely rely on Brewster's web crawling technology to archive pages. But in 2001, the foundation would introduce the Wayback Machine, a way for the public to not only easily browse these already extensive archives, but to also save websites themselves to the library, which greatly expanded the breadth of content you could retrieve using this service.
Yeah, this is pretty nostalgic. If you were on the internet back then and you used the Wayback Machine, like look at like old YouTube. Yo man, I was like, I miss those days. Old YouTube, how it looked. Like old Twitter or like an old website. Good times. Yeah, if you wanna relive those memories, this guy is your guy. Wayback Machine.
There's really not much else to say. The mission is simple. Preserve the internet just as it is and was for future generations to enjoy. Although I do want to bring up their headquarters, which is in this old Californian church, and it just looks so science fiction to me. The first thing anybody chooses to do when using the Wayback Machine is to see what the platforms they use now used to look like way back in the day. I'd wager the first thing almost anybody did on this site was to enter in google.com to see what it looked like in the 90s and early 2000s. One thing you might not have noticed though, is that some of these big websites are using domain names that used to exist before the inception of the platforms you associate them with. Discord, for example, may have been launched in 2015, but the archives for Discord.com go all the way back to 1996. It was originally a personal website, a self-hosted page on the internet that's essentially the antiquated equivalent of a social media profile.
Damn, what the? Yo, I did not know that.
Only existing to express the author's thoughts. Facebook.com in the 90s used to advertise some sort of employee indexing service for large corporations. X.com used to be another personal site. TikTok.com used to be a family blog.
That's crazy. That's actually funny.
This one is a little different from the others. It's pretty detailed and well archived despite being 25 years old. There's a lot of information here. This family's activities and photos were essentially
Yo, I just saw video game. This guy put like video. I saw Star Fox 64. Got SimCity 2000.
There's a lot of information here.
Places to go, people to see. Wait, is this like personal stuff? Yo, what? People to see, addresses and links for our friends and family. Things to do.
This family's
A list of the Oz books and authors. Scott's addictions. Emulation on the Mac, bro. Emulating all the way back then. Star Fox 64. Final Fantasy 7. Let's go. Warcraft 2. Damn. It's OG.
activities and photos were essentially completely documented on the internet
That got freaking cooking recipes. Okay.
for many years.
This guy put his whole like life. Is this like his children? Look, Tomoko's first crawl. Kazu. Is this a Japanese person? Kazue, Tomoko, Julie, Scott.
Back in the 90s, this wouldn't have been a very odd thing to do. The internet wasn't nearly as large as it is now, and you wouldn't feel like you were exposing your private life too much by documenting it online.
So simpler times, man. You wouldn't buy a car on the internet, would you? If you know that ad.
At some point though, likely when the internet began to become much more prevalent in our daily lives, the TikTok family would take their site offline, and of course the domain name would eventually be sold to ByteDance. On Reddit though, one user would discover this long-lost family blog deep in the Wayback Machine's archives, and they would make a post about it on the Internet Mystery subreddit, a place dedicated to solving, well, internet mysteries. What's the mystery here, you might ask? I'm not actually sure. It was interesting that TikTok.com used to be a family blog, but I'm not sure if there is a mystery here. Regardless of that fact, Reddit.
Yo.
But I'm not sure if there is a mystery here.
Mac meme. Hey, what you know about meme, bro? Meme.
Regardless of that fact, Redditors
Multi-arcade machine emulator, bro. I don't know about that meme emulator, bro. That's where I played Marvel vs. Capcom 1, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Giga Wing, 1941 or 1942. What else did I play? I think Darkstalkers are on there. I play all the Capcom fighting games on that emulator. Anyways, getting too distracted.
I'm not sure if there is a mystery here. Regardless of that fact, Redditors will be quick to find one for themselves. The lost media culture of tracking down the origin to every minute detail of every piece of media created by man drove some of these Redditors to treat this family's private life as a lost media search that needed solving. A subreddit would be created to track these people down. They would find addresses, phone numbers, legal papers, court notices, private photos that weren't on the original website. Other users would be quick to label this so-called search as what it really was: stalking. Gang stalking is a delusion that some people have where presumed targeted individuals think they're being stalked by a group of people. It's almost always some sort of paranoid fantasy concocted in somebody's head. But in the case of the original TikTok family, this was by all accounts an actual case of gang stalking, even if it was just a minor one. It goes without saying that not everything in life needs to be tracked down and uncovered in a public manner. Some Redditors would argue that since this family hosted a site with some of their public information for a brief span of time in the 90s and early 2000s, that it was not actually stalking, and they were entitled to know what they were up to now. Thankfully, this so-called search quickly died, and public opinion recently has been much more critical of its existence in the first place, but it goes to show you that sometimes this culture of internet mysteries that YouTubers like me directly contribute to can in some cases turn ugly. The TikTok family site is not the only blog we're going to talk about in this video. Blogs used to be much more common in the early internet than they are now. These days, people either write their brief thoughts on Twitter, or they have a Substack where they act like they're writing op-ed pieces for the New York Times.
People just say garbage on Twitter, and then it's like, I like pancakes. And then someone will see that and they'll quote reach it and be like, oh, you don't like waffles, huh? And then everyone's like, 1 million views, let me get my money, yay! That's Twitter in a nutshell.
But 20 years ago, people would write blogs as a sort of public journal, detailing their views and experiences in a long-form way that just doesn't really happen much anymore. The thoughts detailed in this blog we're about to talk about were unusual, and they preceded something very, very dark. If you go to the Wayback Machine and type in fifthnail.blogspot.com, you'll...
I don't know, I was just thinking of like the fake scary videos just now. And I was just about to say some like funny URL. You go on the Wayback Machine and type in pppoopoo.com. It's not pppoopoo. There's a serial killer named the pppoopoo man.
Get a bunch of snapshots from the mid-2000s. Just like the URL suggests, this site is called The Fifth Nail, and it's a public journal written by a man named Joe, who lives in North Dakota. It starts in late 2003, and the first entry recounts how Joe found out that a 5-year-old girl had gone missing from a nearby town in Minnesota a few months prior. He was so worried about being falsely accused of kidnapping that he decided to look through his logs on Quicken, a personal finance software that can keep track of your budget and spending. He concludes that it would be impossible for him to be accused of any crime on that day because of the purchases he made, which were not done in Minnesota. He goes on to complain about the intensifying persecution of sex offenders and how he's writing this blog for his own safety, because it's just a matter of time before he gets falsely accused of a crime. Oh, and he compares himself to a southern black man. He finished the post by talking about what he ate that day and what he did, which was mostly playing the PC game Delta Force. We can already surmise from this first post that
I don't know this game.
Joe is likely a registered sex offender, and indeed the next few posts seem to focus on the so-called persecution of his kind and the various ways people misunderstand him. He says there's no bad people in the world, just people
Excuse me?
who do bad things.
Yeah, because they're bad people. Bad people do bad things.
He says that it's very hard for him to make friends and to meet women because most people stop talking to him once they learn about his past. As 2003 rolled into 2004, we get more details about Joe's life. He has cats and he really likes playing Delta Force. He works in IT and he watched Return of the King with his neighbor on New Year's Eve. In one long rambling post without paragraph breaks, he rants about the abuse he suffered as a child and tells us that a crime he committed when he was 16 led to him being put into an experimental treatment program at Western State Hospital in Washington State between the years of 1980 and 1982, which eventually got shut down due to numerous civil rights abuses. He mentions in a following post that he was in jail between the ages of 17 and 38 and outlines some disturbing things about children and adults that I'm not going to repeat here. He continues to rant in following posts that he can't stop thinking about being accused of crimes he didn't commit. He buys a webcam that he can have permanently set up to record his living room.
Yo, this is the OG Logitech C99, whatever. The one that I'm using right now, bro. Damn, that's crazy.
In an effort to document his moves as closely as possible in the event he ever needs an alibi for a certain day. He mentions the following week that he accidentally recorded himself naked with his webcam and had to quickly erase it, lest he be accused of being an exhibitionist.
Bro. What do you mean you accidentally?
In following posts, he continues to repeat the same things about committing some mysterious crime when he was 16 and being thrown in a mental hospital. He also seems to keep close track of whenever people go missing in his area so he can verify that he has a solid alibi in the event the police knock on his door. The next week, he talks about enrolling in computer science classes in college, along with documenting and analyzing the various dreams he has. He also compares a law passed in Texas which would require sex offenders to be labeled to 1930s Germany when Jews had to wear armbands. This is the general gist of the blog. Joe talks about college, work, his cats, and the apparent perils of being a sex offender. Sometimes he would document every minute detail of a certain day, and other entries would just include some rambling about his thoughts on a particular topic. In mid-2004 though, things would begin to change a bit. In June, he starts to bring up hallucinations he's been having. He would wake up at night and hear and see strange things, and also the feelings of derealization he's been having.
Oh my god, you guys don't even know this editing software that he just used. Who knows? Put it in the comments down below. What software did he use to edit this video?
Along with saying that he can't trust his own mind. In July, his worst fears about being accused of a crime are realized when he's charged with some unspecified felony. He stops posting for a month, and when he comes back, he outlines an incident where the police broke down his door and searched his home. Again, he doesn't post for 3 weeks. His only post in September is this.
I'm home Sunday afternoon, nothing to do. Everything being undone. Nobody to remind me. Life is about giving your choices over to God. Chicken pot pie in the oven. Why can others not see the unity of the universe? Why are they so blind in their dungeons?
His posts before may have been unhinged, but they start progressively getting more crazy. By the time 2005 rolls around, he starts having much more paranoid and religious delusions. The ramblings start making less and less sense as they go on. The blog would stop abruptly in May 2005, when he simply writes,
The demons have taken over.
In this post, he talks about how he used to be Happy Joe, but inside him was a boogeyman, or a demon. He assumed this dark passenger was gone, but it wasn't. It was just laying dormant, waiting for an opportunity to jump up and take Happy Joe's place. He concludes the post by saying,
Happy Joe was just dreaming, or pretending to be happy.
This blog on its own is strange and disturbing, but it's what would happen after that really turns this into a tragedy. On July 2nd, 2005, a man and a little girl would enter a Denny's restaurant in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. The staff would do a double take at the little girl. They had seen her somewhere before. One of them would conclude that she greatly resembled a missing child that was being broadcast all over the media. Her name was Shasta Grun, and 7 weeks earlier, her family was discovered dead in their home by police. Both Shasta and her brother Dylan, however, were nowhere to be found. The police would rush to Denny's and take Shasta into custody, and they'd arrest the man who was with her, who happened to be named Joseph Duncan, or Joe for short. You see,
Dun dun dun.
just 5 days after writing a post saying the demons had taken over, Joseph would enter the Grun family home and kill everybody except for 2 children. He had not known them previously. They were chosen seemingly at random. He would take Shasta and Dylan, and they'd live for the next 47 days in various campsites in the woods. I'm not going to get into any gruesome details here, but Dylan unfortunately did not make it in time to be rescued. The particulars surrounding the Grun family murders and the kidnapping of these 2 children are some of the most horrible things I've ever read. I'm not kidding. Please don't look too much into this, it's truly not worth knowing. After Duncan was arrested, the FBI would launch a nationwide review of unsolved missing children cases, and Joe would be indicted on several other murders which had occurred in the 1990s. He was put on death row for his crimes, but would die of a brain tumor in 2021 before he could fulfill his sentence. At some point during his various trials, people would eventually find Duncan's blog, and they'd leave their honest thoughts about him in the comments section, which would prompt Joe to just delete the whole thing. This blog might not have been much on its own, but knowing the horrible things this author had done and would go on to do gives it an awful significance as a detailed look into the head of one of the most depraved and evil people to ever walk this earth, and it's one of the most terrifying sights I've stumbled across on the internet, one that would have been lost to time had it not been for the Internet Archive. The fifth nail is definitely one of the darker things I've covered on this channel, so this next topic might be somewhat of a short palate cleanser. Somewhat. Compared to the fifth nail, Joseph Duncan, just about anything is a palate cleanser, even an early internet mystery that happens to focus on a pretty twisted concept. In early 2025, a user on the internet
Bro, what the hell just happened?
mystery subreddit would make a post about a site called eQuerpos, Spanish for e-bodies.
Oh, to back up, 20 years ago. Okay, never mind, I'm tripping. Someone found it this year.
They say that around 20 years ago, a friend had told them about the site. Their friend described it as a sort of marketplace for human cadaver parts. OP didn't want to have anything to do with such a website, so they just ignored their friend, but the idea lay dormant in the back of their mind ever since. Until now. They decide to load up the Wayback Machine, type in the URL, and sure enough, there were snapshots that lined up with when OP had first heard about the site. Everything here is in Spanish, but both English and Portuguese translations are offered and have luckily been preserved. The page is exactly as OP's friend described it, a marketplace for human body parts. A female left arm is $2,600, a male ear is $1,900, and if you're willing to dish out a lot of cash, you can even purchase a full human body for just under $200,000.
What the hell? That's how much we're valued? $200,000 for an adult body? $200,000 is crazy. Look at this guy. This guy put the freaking Visa, MasterCard, American Express. Imagine Visa and MasterCard and American Express allowing this purchase to go down all the way back then. They didn't know what it was. And some dude, some evil man probably bought this.
Each listing is accompanied by pictures of what's being sold and a 5-star rating. They offer information about the deceased person's age, along with their race.
What do you mean? What is guaranteed 9-month? A baby. Vintage? What is this, like Pokemon cards? Vintage 1981 PSA graded 10. Left arm. Left hand.
And continent of origin. If we navigate over to the company page, we learn that eQuerpos has been serving the South American market since 1994. You might be thinking that this is screaming hoax, but you should keep in mind that the human cadaver market is very real. We talked about it at length in my Horrors on the Chinese Internet video. There's a large grey market out there for human body parts to be used for medical study and other less noble purposes. It's also important to remember that the early internet was not quite as lawful and well policed as the web is.
Yo, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, y'all don't know about the dark web, bro. I know about the dark web. I never went on it. I was too scared. Because you have to actually access the dark web, you have to do some, not like advanced, but it's like you have to make sure you know what you're doing. Because, bro, that's like one mistake and the police is at your door in like 5 seconds. They're gonna be like, excuse me, what are you doing? Are you want to go to jail? Are you doing the bad things online? Okay, you're going to jail. Hey, I'm on. I used to watch like, this was like back probably like 10 years ago. I used to watch like people go on the dark web. Shout out Etika. He was one of the people who I watched live. That's where his iconic line, "Escorts," was made. If you know, you know. Also, some ordinary gamers. He was the OG on the dark web. I used to watch his videos too. But yeah, dark web, a lot of bad stuff on there. This being on there is one of them. There's there's literally like Hitman on there. It's like, oh, you want someone to put a hit on him, man? You put a hit on your ops? 10 bands, 10 racks. Put a hit on your man.
Nowadays, you didn't have to use something like the dark web to find a drug marketplace or illegal content. You could readily find it on the surface web.
Oh, it was on easy mode back then.
eQuidpo's promises to protect the privacy of their clients, who tend to be scientists and so-called human body enthusiasts. On their FAQ page, they mention that buyers should keep in mind the laws in their own country surrounding organ trafficking. If we look up black market cadaver hotspots in the mid-2000s, we can find a list that mentions Colombia as a global supplier of illegally obtained human body parts.
That's not a surprise, bro. I swear Mexican cartel, all of them are friggin', they're like the most iconic at chopping up your body. That's like their favorite pastime hobby. It's chopping up your body. The cartel, bro. Bro, I seen like, it was on, what was it on? I think it was Reddit. I don't think that subreddit exists anymore. Reddit 50/50. And it would be an image of like something good or something bad. But the bad was like dark. It was messed up. It'd be like, dog. Happy dog. And then Mexican cartel death. And then you take the risk and click. Oh, it's 50/50. What is it gonna be? Or you can cheat and look at the comments. Sometimes the commenters will be like, no, we're not gonna tell you. And they'll trick you and make you think it's fine, and then it's not. What I was trying to say is that I saw a Mexican cartel do the most messed up thing. They cut a guy's... this is me in high school seeing this too. They cut a guy's Johnson off, and then they put his Johnson in his mouth and took a picture. Yes, the Mexican cartel does stuff like that.
They specifically say in this article that there are several Colombian-hosted websites that offer human body parts for sale. Could this be one of them that just so happened to be captured and preserved on the Wayback Machine? Let's keep digging. You'll notice that at the top of the page here is a link to another website called calresco.org. This site actually still exists in almost the exact same form as it did all the way back in 2005. The page appears to center around the concept of complex systems in science. It's a little hard to understand, but it seems to be talking about systems that have many different components that interact with each other to form a sort of organized chaos. The economy is a good example of a complex system. It's easy to understand on a very small scale, but when it's all put together, it becomes this huge, writhing, interconnected mess. I'm not actually sure what this site has to do with eQuidpos. There's no mention of it anywhere here. If this was a hoax, I feel like this would be an intentional red herring. There's not really much else we can talk about concerning the site itself, so why don't we see what the internet users of 2005 had to say about it. On the site hoaxes.org, an early internet platform dedicated to exposing the many hoaxes of the old web, one commenter mentions eQuidpos on an unrelated post.
Ew. I just tried ordering an eyeball from eQuidpos. The e-commerce functions don't work.
Huh, that's weird. I wonder why that is. Yeah, this was all a hoax. It was made to promote a mobile phone web show made by MTV in 2005. One that's...
Are you kidding me? Bro, I was actually locked in. I was like, damn, bro, how is this even allowed? I was like, yo, this is... My day has been ruined.
It's about a couple of students trying to perform a successful human head transplant, but that's not actually where the story ends. You see, one thing we haven't talked about are the pictures on eQuidpos. They're likely showing actual dead bodies, specifically ones that are in a state of pallor mortis, the first stage of death that occurs for people with light skin. It's a specific kind of paleness that occurs in the first 2 hours after death. These images weren't taken from somewhere else on the web, at least nowhere that exists anymore. It's a little dark to think that a major American broadcast network found pictures of people who just died to put up on the internet. If that was...
That's hella sus. That's hella sus. Where'd they get the pictures from? You can't say AI. This was all the way back then. No AI. What are they gonna say as props?
Isn't bad enough, we can return to the Wayback Machine where we can navigate over to the URLs tab. This section shows all the different addresses that have been preserved by the Internet Archive for a given site. Here we can see all the different pages we've already visited, but also some hidden ones that are not actually listed anywhere on the site.
Amateur.html, Asian.html, blonde, drunk, teen.
It gets much worse than this, we don't really have to go over every one.
This is the bad stuff website now. Okay.
Now these snapshots always seem to result in 403 forbidden pages. While it might seem like these addresses did exist at
Pregnant? Hell no, man.
one point in time, and it is absolutely possible.
Bro, this is corn on the P. Nude. Legal. This is corn on the cob, bro. This is not even... This is probably like... What did I say? Cold pork. I'm not gonna say... The pizza one. I don't know if that's allowed to say on YouTube, so I'm gonna make my own. Cold pork. Okay? That's what we're gonna call... You know what? The first letter of cold and the first letter of pork. Cold pork. This definitely has cold pork on it, I can guarantee you.
These also could have been the result of someone trying to hack into the server hosting this website. One technique to do this is to query as many different page URLs as possible to see which pages exist on a website that just aren't linked to anywhere. You can gain useful information from doing this. For example, we can see an Apache test page on this legal.html URL which tells us that the server is running Red Hat Enterprise Linux. We've gained some knowledge about the system hosting this site that we weren't supposed to have. While this is a fairly common penetration testing technique, it doesn't explain why these pages are archived in the Wayback
Robots? And this is 2006?
Machine. Either somebody in the mid-2000s went and manually entered a bunch of questions
Zoo?
non-existent URLs into the Wayback Machine, or the Internet Archive web crawlers were picking up on some very concerning stuff coming from an MTV web server. Either way, this is still a solved internet mystery, just one that has a few dark questions still attached to it. Okay, is your palate feeling cleansed now? Good.
No. No, that's also bad.
Because we're about to uncleanse it.
Oh
eCreditBus
my
was
God.
not the only early internet site archived in the Wayback Machine, claiming to give users access to a human body. Like I said earlier, the Web 1.0 era of the internet was a lot less policed and much
Your dark corners. Well, this is before the dark web. We had the dark corners.
more chaotic than the sanitized major platforms we're used to seeing now. Instead of posting content to an existing platform, people would usually make their own websites from scratch and host them themselves. Instead of using a search engine, people would use their sites to link to other people's sites, making the internet in this era a true network of interconnected pages. One such page of links happens to be a now defunct site called necrobabes.org.
Brother. I already know where this is going. Not looking forward to this one.
This 2001 site describes itself as erotic horror for adults, and on its main page you can find many different sub-sites created by the different Necrobabes administrators. The content here seems to range from creative writing and gothic art to more risque content. The term erotic horror may bring to mind sleazy 80s slasher movies, but a lot of the stuff on Necrobabes happens to be much more twisted than that. A lot of these sites are dedicated to dark fetishes, like asphyxiation or pretending to be a dead body. Some of these sites sell VHS tapes.
What?
Some of them are just personal pages hosted by the people involved in this strange community. One necrobabe site in particular, though, will become
You know what that title reminds me of? This title. I can't even point at it. Does my mouse show up? No, it doesn't. Cannibal Cafe. That literally sounds like a title in the disturbing movies Iceberg. That title alone perfectly would go in the disturbing movies Iceberg. And I would not have been surprised. Cannibal Cafe.
infamous for a very depraved reason: the Cannibal Cafe. On this site, you can find a gallery of extreme images depicting some of the bizarre interests common on these necrobabe sites. You can also find a page where you can apply to be somebody's livestock, and another page called Impalement FAQ that I'm not going to show you almost any of because
Consensual BBQ?
it focuses on a concept called consensual barbecuing. This is all obviously pretty depraved, but that's not really what we need to focus on. The important thing here is the Cannibal Cafe message board. This is a forum for people who partake in these interests. People on this forum
Look at this guy. Search for young boy. Young boy, young boy. I'm not talking about young boy, NBA young boy.
either write posts searching for so-called human lives
Looking for owner. You know what's crazy? Is that you can find this right now on Twitter easily. Got some femdom Twitter personality on Twitter. If some freaking person wanted this, they could find it on Twitter. Oh my god, I don't even want to say that. Erica blank slave.
stock, or they write advertising themselves as such, like this post.
Male for sale. I would like to be impaled and barbecued. I need tenderizing first and gilding. Would like to be roasted alive.
These posts are absurd to the point of being funny. The idea that
Okay, I mean maybe they're trolling, bro. Early 2001 trolling right here, okay? Sarcasm.
somebody would be interested in stuff like this just seems too ridiculous to be serious. Yeah, maybe some of these posts are indeed just kind of taking the piss, but there is a very real darkness hidden away in this archive.
Slaughter boy wanted. Are you between 18 and 25 years old, normal build, and healthy? If it is your desire to put an end to your life, but you want something more reasonable to become of you, then come to me. I will slaughter you and turn your body into delicious schnitzels and steaks.
This was posted by user Frankie on February 22nd, 2002. It's a very typical post on this forum. The unusual aspect to this post, though, was that somebody would indeed take Frankie up on his offer.
Dear Frankie, I have been looking for an experienced butcher for a long time.
Oftentimes,
You know, is this guy Leatherface? Is that what he's saying right now?
discussions like this don't make the transition from internet into real life. They're just role-playing in fantasy. This situation was different. Only 6 days after the interested party responded to his ad, Frankie would schedule a meetup with him. They both happened to be German. Frankie in real life was named Armin Moose, and the respondent to the ad was named Bernd Brandes. They met in a train station in the city of Kassel, and together they headed back to Armin's place. They cuddled for several hours before deciding to act out what they had discussed on the internet. Bernd had very specific wishes of what he wanted to have done to him. He wanted Armin to start with his reproductive organs, so he did, but he couldn't manage to physically complete the act with his teeth alone. Armin then went to a nearby pharmacy and
Wait. What did you say? What did you just say?
he wanted Armin to start with his reproductive organs.
Is Johnson. Okay, his hot dog. That's what we're saying, right? Reproductive organ. You are a male, your reproductive organ is your Johnson.
So he did, but he couldn't.
He did. So I'm thinking he just, one time.
Manage to physically complete the act with his teeth alone.
And then we hear this. Bro used his mouth and tried to bite off his Johnson. Is that what you're telling me, Mr. YouTuber man? Is that what you're telling me right now? This man used his mouth to physically rip off the dude's Johnson.
Armin then went to a nearby pharmacy and picked up sleeping pills, cough syrup, and alcohol to give to his partner. Upon returning, he decided to use a knife to finish what he had started. Brandes then wanted Armin to cook what he had cut off so they could both eat it together.
You know what this reminds me of? There was a kid in my high school when I first started high school in grade 9. And he asked me, this is the first time I ever meet. It was in an English class, and the teacher wanted us to like icebreaker and like talk to new people. And this guy, no, it wasn't that. It was for something else. We had to like do group work or something, and she like randomly assigned us. So I was with this dude, and he asked me, would I rather eat a Johnson or a kitty cat? Not in a pleasure manner. Like he was on some human centipede or saw type situation. He said, you are starving and you are tied up and there's two, like this is like a fully Saw and some disturbing movie that this guy's freaking writing some disturbing movie. He's telling me this scenario, and he says, would you rather eat the Johnson or the kitty cat? And I was like, I don't even know who you are, and you just come up to me in this group work and you just ask me this question. And then he gave me like a full breakdown. He was like, the Johnson has more meat, so you could get some nutrients out of it or something because there's meat on it. But the kitty cat has no meat on it. I was like, some people are something else, man.
But Moose accidentally burnt the meat, and it was inedible. He then helped the now severely injured Bernd into the bath, where he lay slowly losing blood. He then got into Armin's bed, where the combination of low blood pressure and the cocktail medications he had taken had him hallucinating and drifting in and out of consciousness. They made plans about what part they would cut off and eat tomorrow, but before that could come to fruition, Bernd would take his last breath.
Okay, so he cut off his Johnson, right? So he has a Johnson-less. And now they're deciding what's the next human part you want to get cut off.
Armin wasn't quite done yet though. He divided the body of his now deceased partner and put it in his freezer, where he would periodically take a piece out and cook it like any other cut of meat. He would continue doing this for 10 months. Armin would eventually be arrested after another user of the Cannibal Cafe forum would report his post to the police, and they found the remaining pieces of Bernd's body after searching his property. Police would also learn that Brandes wasn't the only man Armin had met on the Cannibal Cafe forum. Between 2001 and 2002, Armin had arranged up to 40 so-called slaughter meetings with young men, but the only person he met that was willing to go all the way was Bernd Brandes. The consent Armin received to play out this horrible act was a confusing thing for the authorities. None of this happened under any sort of coercion, and the victim had been a willing participant in all stages of the act. Brandes, though, had taken mind-altering doses of different medications.
This guy was on the codeine, bro. It was promethazine. Guy was drinking the purple juice. The Sprite and codeine.
Which may have impaired his ability to consent, and on top of that, killing is never legal even if the victim wants it. Armin Moos would eventually be convicted of manslaughter in 2004, but 2 years later in 2006, he would be retried and found guilty of murder, being sentenced to life in prison. The most disturbing thing about this story,
I literally thought that this guy was gonna say he got let go or something. I was about to punch my monitor. About to break my webcam right now if he said he got let go.
is that from the time Bernd and Armin initially got home to the time Brandes ultimately passed,
He was recording the whole thing.
Armin had a camera set up in the corner and had been filming everything. This videotape was the key piece of evidence that would lead to Armin's charges being escalated from manslaughter to murder, and is likely one of the most disturbing pieces of lost media to exist.
Yo, who has this? You think it's online? I don't think. Maybe it might be. Yo, you dead. This is 100% on the dark web. You're not finding this anywhere. If someone were to leak this video on the dark web, ooh, man, that sick individuals would watch that.
After Armin was arrested and word spread quickly about the website, the Cannibal Cafe forum would close its doors and would ultimately go offline for good in 2003. If it wasn't for the Internet Archive, we never would have gotten this eerie look into one of the most depraved sagas to come from the early internet. The Internet Archive has been instrumental in not only preserving these important and disturbing parts of internet history, but also for solving lost media cases. You might remember when they found the location of the backrooms photo back in 2024, that was only because the original site that hosted the photo all the way back in 2004 just so happened to be archived on the Wayback Machine. Our last case for today happens to focus on a similar lost media hunt. The YouTube channel Watch Data is known for producing this very particular format of infographic videos.
Yeah, I know these guys. They always do like, what happens from this to this? The timeline stuff.
They're all presented the exact same way. A sliding chart will be shown detailing where certain entries land on the spectrum of a certain topic, like human evolution timeline, which shows the different types of humans in order of oldest to newest. Every video is pretty much exactly like this. This channel probably just has a Premiere template they throw different visual assets onto and can make videos in like 5 minutes. One of Watch Data's uploads happens to focus on a topic.
Creepiest video. Yo, I should react to that. That's only 3 minutes.
That's pretty familiar to me and viewers of my channel, YouTube's creepiest videos. Well, you might assume the sliding scale here.
Okay, hold on, let me see. Oh, I'm changing the volume. Yeah, let me.
Channel, YouTube's creepiest videos. Well, you might assume the sliding scale here might be.
It says, what is it? It's a music video? Down low.
YouTube's creepiest videos. Well, you might.
Valentino Khan, Deep Down Low. I'm gonna read what I'm blocking. This music video follows a man overwhelmed by scary, trippy illusions. Okay, there's the title of that. Hey, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. This is like a classic, bro. I remember when it first came out and I watched it. That was fine. Elisa Lam. Video of missing woman. Wait, was this the one that we saw in that other video? With the daughter? Was this a different person? Creeper in my apartment. And we're not talking about Minecraft.
Assume the sliding scale here might be something like least to most creepy. It's not.
Oh, the baby ice cream. I remember that one.
Not actually that. It's showing you videos in order of most views to fewest views.
Username. Bing, bing, bing.
This is an interesting way to present.
Oh, Terra the android, I feel fantastic. That video is messed up. That's literally the definition of disturbing. I watched that like once. Yeah, someone who says they're not scared, that's one of the things that I watched once and never watched it ever again. Because it was so like unsettling to watch that whole video. Tara the android, I feel fantastic. If you wanna go down that path, you can watch it yourself. Angel, that one looks familiar. I don't know if I watched that one. Stalker video 2. Is that YouTube's most disturbing videos? Stalker video 2?
This topic. It makes you want to watch to the end to see which video has the least views. All the standard creepy YouTube fares here, like salad fingers, I feel fantastic, little baby's ice cream. You've likely heard of most of these already, but things get more interesting when we get to the end and we start seeing the less viewed videos. And in fact, the last
A low quality video showing a girl trapped inside a cage. Oh, you guys can't see that one. Movie recording 21. A woman recording herself crying. Fort McRee Battery 233 emplacement. Two guys exploring what seems to be an abandoned mansion. Play
entry on this list
2.
has a mere 77 views. It's called Play 2 and was supposedly uploaded by a channel known as Mother8538. While we don't see the video itself, we do see the thumbnail, which shows a hand holding a lighter. If you search Mother8358 Play 2 on YouTube, you won't see the video from the watch data list.
That's why we have the Internet Archive.
You'll only find other videos talking about it, all of which inform the viewer that Play 2 is considered to be lost media. Redditors will be quick to try to solve this mystery. One user was able to find an Internet Archive snapshot of Mother8538's channel page. Now the video links present here have been archived and neither has any thumbnail, but we can see that Play 2 did indeed exist, and the other videos from the channel also just have one word as the title, like punish, think, and wait. If you try to take the channel URL from the Wayback Machine and visit it on live YouTube, you'll simply be told that the channel does not exist. This might sound like a dead end, and it likely is. A video with 77 views being taken off of YouTube is going to be next to impossible to find. It would be incredibly unlikely that somebody just so happened to archive it or mirror it anywhere. That wouldn't stop the lost media search though. A subreddit
Oh, you guys make subreddits for anything, bro. What the heck?
would be created and the hunt would continue. As you can imagine, in a case like this, just about everything found so far has been false leads. People show up with wild claims that never actually lead anywhere. Some users are trying to identify the carpet shown in the thumbnail, others are passing off recreations as the original video. For some reason, many people have come forward to claim they saw Play 2 before it was taken off of YouTube, which is a little hard to believe considering just how obscure this video is.
Yeah, this isn't like YouTube now. You could get away with this because YouTube's algorithm actually shows you the most like random channel. Like me, I do like gaming stuff, right? I'll get recommended some random person's gaming video that has like 10 views. Like, so you can get away with that now. Like, someone were to make a disturbing video and put it on YouTube, it's gonna show up on a lot of people's algo. Like, some people know how to work the algo properly, bro. Like, they'll make one video. They can make like a channel, one video, and then it just shows up in my algorithm, 400,000 views. And I'm just like, what the heck did this person do? And it's like some stupid, like, it's like the title. It's literally the title that just gets people clicking it or something. I don't know. Or it's a depressed person. Well, that's like a trend. Like, yo, I know everyone is depressed, but these mans be trying to monetize off their depression, bro. There's always some person who's depressed, puts it on YouTube, and then it appears in my video feed, and I'm like 400,000 views, and I'm just like,
The Chinese
but back then, I don't know how how people found that video. That's literally needle in a haystack.
Which is a little hard to believe considering just how obscure this video is. The Chinese internet would also get involved, with the community surrounding the case being formed on Bilibili, the Chinese equivalent to YouTube. Here, people would add on to the Play 2 lore by uploading what they claim to be the other videos from Mother8538's channel. Now these are able to be verified because we know next to nothing about the actual content of these now lost videos, but that wouldn't stop people from treating them as if they're real. One user suggested tracking down every viewer of Play 2 to interview them about the clip's content. And here is where I ask, what is the point of all this?
Yo, that's what I'm saying, bro. This is impossible.
This is one of those lost media cases where you can easily argue that the work in question has been fully lost. Even if we generously assume that 5% of the 300,000 watch data viewers actually went and searched for Play 2 on YouTube, that would only give this video 15,000 views before being taken offline. The likelihood that somebody saved it even with that many views is very low. I have videos with view counts like this that have never been mirrored, and I have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Mother8538 had 23. This video is almost certainly gone from the internet, and was it even that interesting to begin with? Do you think the watch data researchers went to great lengths to find an amazingly creepy video that only had 77 views? I find that pretty unlikely, considering the effort they put into the rest of the research. Like that Mumtaz Begum video only being listed with 3,000 views, despite the multiple mirrors of this video that exists on YouTube which have garnered millions of views each. One video near Play 2 in the list only had 600 views. This one just shows a woman crying for 2 minutes. There's nothing particularly unsettling about it. She just seems sad.
No, this is pretty spooky already. Look at that. Look at it in the background. What's this? This drawing. Creepy drawing in the background. I watched enough horror movies to know that's a bad omen. Okay, I don't need to hear all that, bro.
Another video has 400 views, and it's just a mundane Urbex clip that clearly wasn't intended to be scary in any way.
It's like some old ass shit right here, dude. It's fucking badass. That's some scrap metal.
For all we know, the Mother8538 video could have just been somebody flicking a lighter. We have no reason to think this video is interesting or holds any sort of significance. So why go to such efforts to find it? Lost media can be really interesting when the work at hand is important in some way or is just considered to be worth experiencing. But why spend energy looking for a completely random, likely uninteresting video that nobody ever saw? This isn't a photo that greatly shaped internet culture or a lost Beatles song. It's a 20-second video that nobody watched. If you enjoy looking for an inconsequential needle in a haystack, be my guest.
See, that's what I said. Needle in a haystack, bro. Possibly the guy who watched Play 2 repost. Guys, I found the person who watched Play 2, and this is what he said.
It's not my place to tell you what to enjoy or not enjoy, and I'm not gonna judge you, but I don't personally understand the appeal. Guys, thanks for watching. You know, I usually like to plug my Patreon, but if you want to throw some money around today, maybe consider donating to the Internet Archive. They make my job possible and are constantly fighting an uphill battle to keep the internet free and open. I'm sure they could use the support. And last but not least, have a good night.
YouTube, man. YouTube. W video. That was very interesting about the Internet Archive. Yeah, low-key, I'll be... Hey, never mind, I'm not going to say what it... Okay, I'd be finding, you know, games on there, you know. That's all I'm gonna say. And you know, you can go back and see YouTube and Twitter and Google and Facebook and Instagram and, you know, all the other favorite websites, maybe mini clips, Newgrounds. You know what I'm saying? Get nostalgic with it. But we all know that there's some darkness in that archives too. Our boy, Farrell McGuire, has nicely thoroughly informed us of the horrors on the Internet Archive. W ending by me, yo. See, if you like that ending, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, thanks for staying till the end and watching, and subscribe for more disturbing horror reaction videos. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.